Hi, I'm Alyse November, and I'm here with Alana, a fellow type 1 diabetic mama, as I call us, and we're just gonna try to educate and help other moms who are dealing and trying to manage type 1 diabetes in their children. So, why don't we start? Why don't you just start by just telling us your story, telling the world and me your story. Your daughter's name is Colby.
Yeah, so Colby was diagnosed when she was 4.5 years old. She had, from what I know now, all of the typical warning signs.
Okay,
Yeah.
I want to interrupt you, but what are those warning? What were the warning signs for you?
Yeah, so I guess looking back on it, you realize it. She would be nonstop drinking all the time.
Lots of water.
Very
thirsty.
Anything.
Right?
It was anything. It was, I mean, in the middle of the night, I would find like random cups in her room and I didn't even know where they would come from. She was eating like a 13-year-old boy. Like everything and anything. We would take her out for breakfast, lunch, dinner. She would eat everything on the plate and come home and raid the pantry, and it was crazy. I mean, I've never seen a little child like that consume so much, and was constantly hungry. So we took her to the doctor, really hoping, kind of knowing, but really hoping they were going to tell me that she was going through a growth spurt and don't worry, it will be good. But instead, they told me that I needed to take her to the hospital. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll do some research and I'll see what I want to do. And they just looked at me and they said, no, Mom, the emergency room is waiting for you. We've already called them and they know that you're on the way. And that was it. And that was Colby's diagnosis. So we get to the hospital and it was terrifying. The nurses, it was Memorial Day weekend. So a lot of people, doctors and nurses are off, and a lot of the typical nurses that are there were not there. And I get there, and the nurse says to me, "Mom, you need to hold her down. We need to take some blood, start an IV, whatever it is. You need the word for word. You need to hold her down. We need to see how sick she is."
Wow.
And that was it.
Yeah, you lose it. Mm-hmm.
So
okay, so that was your experience. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. We did the same thing. Yeah.
So it was,
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, why are you letting them do this to me? Why? And
so the guilt is, it's such a range of emotions, I think, that we go through when they go into the hospital initially. And, it's guilt, it's anger, it's feeling scared as heck. You don't know what to do. It's like, what's wrong with my baby?
Right.
And I guess what you're saying with your experience is you were there with people who, they weren't super sensitive. So any doctors, nurses, anybody who's watching out there, like, we're scared. We're really scared going through this, and we need support, and we need help, and we need our hands held, and we need you to take care of our child, but we need also, gentle approach.
We have because I have no idea.
Yeah. So, okay, so she gets out of the ER, and I'm guessing she goes into some type of a pediatric ICU at some point, or goes into...
No, she actually, she was not in DKA. She was not in diabetic ketoacidosis. Okay.
So
we were lucky that she just got to stay in the regular peds wing.
Okay.
So we were very fortunate. Her A1C was still at a 12, but we were very fortunate that we did not have to go into the PICU there.
She wasn't that sick. Okay.
So thank you, nurse. She wasn't that sick.
but still, she had chronic disease.
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. And you know what? We learned how to test her blood sugar. We had to start learning how to, draw medicine out of a bottle into a syringe. We had to learn how to, pinch skin in certain places and inject medicine.
Things that only doctors and nurses we've ever seen done before.
Right.
And now they're telling you that you need to like basically learn how to do this, and it's
right. I was
scary.
like on ER or like one of the Grey's Anatomy, and I'm like, you know, flicking syringes with air bubbles and
trying to get you
know, it was very new. But you know what, my kid is super brave, and she did it all, and she got to the point, I want to say it was like even before we left the hospital, where she was like, can I push it down? You know, I'd put the needle in, and she would want to push the plunger down herself, and then, you know, and she would want to, you know, I'd set up the finger pricker, and she would want to push the button on the finger pricker, so that she, you know, she wanted to do it herself, and she really made me more comfortable, as much as she hated it.
She sounds like she's a special kid, but I think you're a special mom too, and I think that's important for moms to know, to work through your own anxiety at the moment so that you can help your child be more confident with it, because I think the more confident that we are, the more confident also that they are, and I think it starts, you know, right in that hospital room. And, you know, it sounds like Colby is a wonderful child and has that ability to do that. But I think it's really important that we're comfortable with it. You know, as uncomfortable as we are, it's like, hey, let's just figure it out together, you know?
Right, and I think that I was honest with her. But I also, you know, I had to leave the room and cry by myself, you know, because I couldn't let her see how sad it makes me. Then there's sometimes where she cries, too. You know, and I cry with her and validate that it stinks, you know, and that this is her life every day that she has to deal with. But
how old is she now?
Now she's 7. She just turned 7. So it's been 2.5 years since diagnosis. And it's, there's definitely a lot of times where she's over it, I'm over it, you know. Why do I have to check my sugar? I don't want to check my sugar. And I don't want to check her sugar either. And, you know, but there's no choice. There's, you know, like all of us moms and dads and families, you know, we don't get a day off. The kids don't get a day off. We don't have a chance to be over it. You know, you do it.
It's
you
every
just
day.
have to do it.
It's every day. So tell me, because I know, so she was 4 when she was diagnosed. She was in school at that time, or?
Yeah, she was in VPK.
Okay. So what was that experience like of now? Because I know, because I've been there too, but let's hear your experience with it of, you know, going to school. I know there's a 504, there's all of this rigmarole that you have to now go through.
So my school experience was, or her first school experience, so this happened Labor Day weekend she was diagnosed, so the very beginning of the school year.
Here in Florida we started in August, but so it was kind of like still the first couple of weeks of school.
Yeah, so it was really hard. She went to a private school too, but it was still VPK, and there was a lot of hoop jumping. Her teachers were so supportive. The administration at the school was so supportive. They were the ones that really helped her get diagnosed, because, you know, they were like, you know what, she has been drinking a lot in school, or, you know, we did fill up her water bottle a lot, and they luckily that year of school she was in a position where the administration and her teacher both have personal experience with type 1 diabetes.
Wow.
And she had been at the school since she was 6 months old, so they've seen her grow up and develop and mature there, and they were really willing to help me as much as they could.
That's great.
Until
they
couldn't, until their board of directors said no, because private schools have the option as to what medications they can administer to children and which they choose not to. And their administration chose not to allow their staff to administer insulin.
Wow, so what happened?
So at that point, there was a lot of fighting back and forth. I had to call the Americans with Disabilities Association, and they had provided me a lawyer, and we had to go through a lot of hoops. And I had to take off every day from work at lunchtime to go administer insulin. I'm fortunate enough at that point that she was still in her honeymoon period.
And honeymoon period is when a child is newly diagnosed. Sometimes their pancreas still secretes some insulin, so their blood sugars might not be as unstable as you go longer into the disease, a little bit further into the disease.
So I really only need to give her medication for lunch. I didn't need to give her medication for snacks and everything else like I do now. So I had to take off every day from work and give her medication and go back to work. And it was definitely trying. Eventually, the school found an anonymous donor to provide a nurse for Colby. So then that nurse would come in daily to administer her medication so that I was able to stay at work and do life. So
yeah, okay, so that sounds like it was quite challenging.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of parents also struggle. I mean, you know, whether you send your child to public school or private school, it's hard. It's hard letting them go and letting somebody else do it and manage it. It sounds like you had a lot of support in the beginning, and then it was kind of ripped out from under you.
Yeah, it was
hard.
It was.
It's hard because you know.
And you're comfortable at this place. You know, you trust your child to be there, and this is where they've grown up, and it was taken away, and it was like, so you're gonna have to find somewhere else to go. And I'm fortunate, you know, that I fought for my kid, and you have to really be an advocate for your child for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I found that too with my Josh. Is, you know, I walked into a 504 meeting, and I know I was introduced to, there were specific forms through the American Diabetes Association. So a 504 is a plan that a child gets when they go to school, and what it does is it kind of maps out what the child is entitled to. So a 504 maps out for a child that they could have their blood sugar kit on them or not on them, and they can test at their desk or not test. You know, it says exactly what they can or cannot do, and it also says who needs to be trained. So bus drivers, lunch staff, that everybody who touches Josh, you know, or Colby must be trained. And so they have regular 504s for children with just regular medical disabilities. But it's really important for parents to know that the American Diabetes Association puts out a specific form that really maps out what our children need in school. And it kind of gives it all right there on the form. So it's really, really important. I don't know if you have that one, but my school didn't have one. And you were just talking about being an advocate. And so I went to school, and my school is also pretty, you know, my child's in public school, but they were...
She's in public school now. At diagnosis, she wasn't.
Okay, so they're pretty supportive, but I think that, you know, they didn't have the correct form. And I said, I'm not having this meeting. You get the form that we need to have, and then I will have the meeting. This is what it is. And they went searching and searching for it, and they found it. And they got the correct form. So it's important for parents to be informed, because I think, you know, as a parent with a diabetic child, sometimes you feel just so appreciative that people are doing things for your child, and you don't want to overstep your boundaries. And I think you and I are both very strong moms, and there are no boundaries with this disease. No, when it comes to your child's health, when it comes to your child's life, you need to be that strong advocate for them. And if you're not comfortable with something, speak up. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, you took it a step further. You went the legal end because you had to.
I had no other choice. I had no other choice at that moment. You know, the other schools were, even if I wanted to change her schools, the schools were full. You know, the programs that she needed to be in was full. So
and why would you have to change your child's school? Because they're denying her access to appropriate medical care.
You know what? To me, it didn't make sense. I said, you know, you can keep EpiPens on hand. You can keep nebulizers here for children. It's a you know, life-saving medication. I don't understand why we can't use it. and it was disheartening and crushing that they wouldn't go out of their, not even out of their way, but that they wouldn't do what was right for kids. And it was a lot to handle.
So it's important for parents to be a really good advocate for your child. So also I know Colby goes to camp, and I know, because I know, that's one thing I think that my Josh missed out on, because he didn't leave the home. He didn't really have sleepovers, especially, in the beginning. He wanted to start to, I think, when he was about 12, 13, or he wanted to, but never really felt comfortable. So how do you manage, what's your camp experience, or your out of the house kind of sleepover without you experience? What is that like?
So Colby's been super independent since forever. She would have sleepovers when she was like 3. She'd be like, can I go to their house and sleep over? And, they were all our friends, and she'd sleep over. She got diagnosed, and we had to pull back on where she would sleep and what she would do and who she could be with without us. And that's challenging too, because, it takes a village. But my village got a lot smaller, when she got diagnosed, because the people that she could be with had to be educated every time we would leave. So I think she just started, she's had like 2 sleepovers in the last 2 years. But with like best friends who are parents, who are best friends with my husband and I, that we can really trust, and that we know, like, you're gonna wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to roll over and see what her sugar is on her sensor. My alarm still goes off at 2 o'clock in the morning every night. So if she's gonna sleep at your house, I'm gonna text you at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, how is she doing? Because that's just what you do when you have a child that's diabetic.
So you're asked,
it's
asking other parents to kind of take on that responsibility of taking care of your child.
Right.
It's real.
Right, because
they have to.
Because if she's low at 1:30 in the morning, well, you know what? Like, that mom or dad is going to need to get up and give her a juice, and then stay awake for the next 20 minutes and recheck her. And
I could picture you at home with having that on your phone, and her beeping, and her being 70, and you're texting the parents like in this panic, because I would probably be, and just saying, hey, like, you gotta wake up and check my kid.
Yeah.
She might not be alive in a couple of hours.
Yeah. And there was one time where she had like a low night where she just couldn't get up, and she was at a sleepover. And the next day, the mom looked at me and she goes, I can't believe that, you do this. I'm like, you just had 12 hours. This is my everyday, for 2.5 years. This is, way more than 12 hours worth of stuff.
This is every day, every minute, every moment.
So.
Our little Colby is here. What? She wants to.
You want to say hi?
You want to come in?
You want to come in?
Come sit. Shoot. Nah, she needs her shoes.
This is Colby, right? Colby, how old are you?
I am 7.
You're 7. Okay. And you have type 1 diabetes? And you were diagnosed when you were?
4.
4?
And a half, wow. I think. 4.5.
So you've had it for like about 3 years?
Yes.
Okay.
It's about 3 years.
Okay. So how is it having type 1 diabetes?
It's okay. It's okay.
What is it like? What do you have to do? What do you have to do every day?
I always have to check my sugar like 3 times a day.
Like 5 times.
Maybe 5 times. Yeah.
5 times.
And it's I was not used to it when I was little, but I am used to it because it's been like a long time, because I've been doing this for 125 days.
That's a lot. So what happens? Like, you're not used to it. Like, you have to stick your finger and it hurts, kind of.
Sometimes.
Yeah, but when you were little, you would do it and it wasn't. You didn't like it.
No.
No, but now you're used to it.
Yeah, I'm used to it.
So what is it? So what else do you have to do with diabetes?
Well, I usually, if I'm low, I'm gonna have to usually drink a juice or an applesauce, or sometimes Smarties and candy. That's the fun part. I get to eat candy when I'm low. But if I just want candy, sometimes food, my mom will let me if it was a long time.
Right, because candy's a sometimes food.
Yeah, sometimes food.
Candy's a sometimes
I love
food.
candy.
Does it stink that you can't have candy all the time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I was a candy monster. I am a candy monster.
You are a candy.
Yeah, because I love candy so much.
So what does it feel like when you have a low blood sugar?
Well, it feels like I'm really shaky. Sometimes I get really shaky. I can't get up or something. Or I just, can't get up or fall down.
You get, dizzy and weak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Scary? Is it scary
It's
ever?
a bit scary sometimes.
So when you're at home, do you go to mom and...
Usually, yeah. But
Yeah.
at school, it's a bit hard for me.
So what happens at school?
Well, I usually don't want to interrupt the teacher, when she's reading, when I'm, shaky. But I don't need to follow the rules for my school because I have type 1 diabetes.
Right, so that was a conversation that we had because not just for us as parents to be advocates for the kids, but teaching the kids how to be advocates for themselves.
Are we rolling the camera right now?
Yes,
Yeah.
we are rolling the
Yeah.
camera.
Then how did you not tell me we were going to roll the camera right now?
Oh. I'm sorry. Did I trick you?
Yeah, you did.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Ignoring. So it's important for our kids to learn how to be advocates for themselves, because they want to be rule followers. They're naturally, they want to be good kids, they want to stay on green. They want to get the good report home.
Sometimes I got outstanding or soaring.
Yes.
I got on outstanding for 6 times.
Yeah?
And Keelan got on outstanding for 9 times.
Wow. That's a lot of outstanding.
And Benjamin and Julian got on for 18.
But you know what's so important is what you just said before, is you don't want to bother the teacher.
Yeah.
How does that feel when you don't want to bother the teacher?
Well, it feels like I'm really following the rules. Last time I got up on blue, and because an aftercare teacher was filling in for Miss Good after music because she had to leave early or something, but I don't know what it was.
Okay.
And
Do you get nervous if you have to interrupt the teacher?
yeah, I sometimes get nervous, so I usually just,
What do you do?
I just sit there and do what I have to do.
And what is that?
That is working on my must-dos or finishing the work.
But if you're feeling low, do you raise your hand and say what? Do you raise your hand?
No, but now I do, but sometimes, the half year I've been for 2016,
That's a goal that we had starting 2017 was for Colby to know what rules apply to her and what rules she can break.
apply.
But it's not even breaking rules.
Right,
When you
based on
need
her
to be able-
needs.
Right.
Where are you going?
I want to sit right here.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't want you to touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. I'm not gonna look.
That's
Get
really.
your-
So is it hard to be your own advocate, to be able to speak up for yourself?
It's okay to speak up for myself now in 2017 than it was for 2016.
So practice.
Yeah.
Practice doing it.
Yeah.
And having conversation with the teacher about
Yeah,
it too.
That's what yeah.
Yeah.
So the transition to public school was a little nerve-wracking for me, because at this point I was a teacher, but again now this is my own kid, and how is it really going to be followed through, and what are the expectations that I have as a mom versus what's really going to happen, and am I asking too much of? What should I expect? Do I expect too little? Do I expect too much? How is it going to be followed through? And I met the nurse at Colby's school, and she is amazing. She's Colby's somewhere now where she's going to grow up from kindergarten through 8th grade and have the same nurse, hopefully, with her and know her and know the little nuances of Colby's diabetes, right? Because every kid that has type 1, no two kids are treated the same way. The expectations are different as to what happens, how their food digests in their body is very different. You could have two kids that both eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. One kid can remain stable and the other kid will skyrocket or go low, whatever it is. It's, and she takes the time to know that. How many times a day does she text me, like, oh, do you see what's happening? Because she has access to Colby's sensor and she uses that. Not even throughout the day, but she'll text me at night saying, hey, I see that she's low. Is everything okay?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, the top over and above. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, she's really wonderful, and and what she does for not just for Colby, but five other children at the school that have type 1, and the way, I mean, she could show you her phone and the alarms that she has set on her phone for, check this one here, check this one PE, check this one snack, check this one lunch, and the way she handles everything, it's wonderful, and I'm confident, that I can leave my kid there for the 6 hours or 7 hours a day that she's there, and, listen, could she go low, could she go high? Yeah, of course, but I'm confident that I'm going to be able to pick my kid up healthy at the end of the day,
mm-hmm.
and she's going to be happy and healthy and be able to be a part of her class. Colby doesn't get pulled to test her sugar. The nurse comes into the classroom to test their sugar, so they're not missing any part of the work day.
Because if you think about it, if a child has to go down, and we were just talking about being an advocate for your child, but if you think about it, if your child has a low blood sugar, first of all, and this is sometimes what people don't get. When a child has a low blood sugar of 63, and the nurse is in a different building, or even down the hall, getting up from that seat and walking from that seat is a struggle for that child. So they need to be able to test right there in the school. So what you said is just so important, that your nurse comes to her, tests, and takes care of her right there. She doesn't have to go anywhere. And I'm guessing the teacher's been trained too, that if something happens, the teacher can take care of it, yes?
Yes, but the nurse is so on top of it that she really doesn't leave room for the teachers to have to do any of it.
Right, well, your nurse has access to her sensor readings,
yes.
And some nurses don't. And, I know that my kid's nurse never did. We didn't have a sensor back then.
Right.
And a lot of kids don't necessarily have sensors, but so you're privileged, and I know I am too for the experiences that we've had. Sometimes it's really challenging, and I think what we're talking about is just explaining what is possible for children, for young children in school who may have difficulty advocating for themselves, for parents to kind of set the parameters of what needs to be done, and for people, school administrators, teachers, even the nurses sometimes, to let them know that, what needs to be done to take proper care of our child in the classroom at the moment as expeditiously as possible to get them to a point where they're feeling better, feeling safe, and their blood sugar is stable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, it really also depends on the kid, like I said before, and that she takes the time to know that, to say, oh, their sugar's at 250
mm-hmm.
before lunch, and, okay, I'm going to give the medicine 20 minutes early now versus, oh, I have to give the medicine in 20 minutes when it's lunchtime. And
right, so there she goes again. It's to do those doctor's orders, and it's take care of those doctor's orders.
Right.
Because that was signal loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get those alarms all the time with Josh, too. I get it in the middle of the night where I wake up.
Yeah. Right,
So,
I'm always like, oh, I have to get a baseline, I have to know where she is now, and
yeah.
yes.
So I'd like to thank you so much for coming out today and talking about your experiences with Colby and how you have been, your life has been impacted by type 1, and sharing with other moms out there and dads, and nurses and doctors and everybody that, about what we go through and what, it was wonderful to have Colby here too, to help people understand, what she's experiencing as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and this is her life. This is like what she knows now, so this is.
It's a whole new world. It is. And when you're diagnosed, it is. It's a whole new world. There's lots of help and support out there, and it's just seeking it out wherever you can. Always feeling like if, I always say, I have a mommy gut. You have a mommy gut too. Like if something isn't right, like trust your mommy gut, listen to your mommy gut, and do what you need to do to make sure you take care of your baby.
Yeah.
And teach your baby that it's okay for them to take care of yourselves. And I love that message that you sent today of you're helping Colby to be an advocate for herself, to be able to do that, never to be intimidated or embarrassed, and not feeling like she could speak up for herself when she needs that help. And that's just a wonderful message for parents to hear. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Signing off.